Welcome to Garden Tour Saturday. It is the middle of March or past that. I actually don't know what day it is. Maybe the 15th? Could be the 16th. I think it's the 15th of March 2025, and we're checking out the garden for Garden Tour Saturday, hosted by Grandma Sandy, lots of co-hosts, Suffolk Susie in New York, Patricia N. Cube in the Southern States, Barb Daly Real Life in Washington State. And before we get started, I'm going to just touch on something that so many of you will be interested in. What happened to the sweet little mystery kitty that appeared on my doorstep 2 weeks ago and decided to have a sleepover with me? I don't typically sleep with random strangers who show up on my doorstep, but that kitty decided to sleep in my bed. So that was kind of interesting. So to make a very long story short, Kitty stayed with me until around lunchtime. I walked down the street with Kitty, identified where the kitty stopped on someone's doorstep. The owner of the house drove in. That was actually not their cat, but interestingly enough, was familiar with this cat. And if you haven't seen those videos, I'll put a little clip to show you who the kitty was. You can go watch my last video. I'll link it somewhere. This is not your new home, sweet cat. You can't live here, okay? You're not staying with me, but you can stay the night if you really need to. I don't know why you're in here. Why did you come in my house? I don't have a cat. I've never had a cat before. I hope you're not going to poop in here somewhere. You're so sweet, though. Breakfast time for this little kitty. Apparently wanted to dine on the counter. Came on the counter when I was pouring the milk. Description or the cards, you can go check it out. But anyways, the homeowner said the kitty is owned by an care aide who lives in the neighborhood a few blocks away and works at a private care home, which looks like a house in my neighborhood that I didn't know existed, and the cat follows her to work. And it gets more interesting. The cat has chosen several households or people in the neighborhood as their quote-unquote chosen ones, and goes and spends 12 hours, 24 hours sometimes with these chosen people and families. So apparently either me or my home has been chosen by this cat and may show up again one day. So that's the story of Kitty. One more thing before we get right into the tour. This relates to the tour. I am doing a very controversial garden experiment. Some of you are going to think I am nuts, and I might be a little bit. These seeds have meaning. So what do you see on them? You see a cat. We have, or a couple of cats, cat grass, and we have catnip. Now, I was in the market for cat mint because I thought that cat grass and catnip were different, and cat mint was different again. I really want cat mint for my garden, but I got these, and I have the most crazy thing planned. I'm going to try to attract the neighborhood cats to my garden. Now, most people would never do that and would actually want to do the opposite, but let me show you what I have planned. Before we check out my cat plans, just take a quick look at the landscape. It has completely changed in the last couple weeks. You can see it starting to take shape. What you see here is going to be a gravel area going right around my vegetable borders. And the grass that you see in the middle, that is going to stay grass. The piles of dirt will be repurposed for another project. And this is a channel to reroute water. When this property gets a good downpour, the water is rerouted over here to stop water from running to places it shouldn't run to. So that is awesome. We're going to journey into what's going to be the rock garden now, and I'm going to show you where these cat plants are going to go. This is the area that is going to be a rock garden very soon. We've got two main flower beds here. And before I tell you what I'm going to do with the cat plants, check out my bulbs, my spring bulbs. When I got home from the Okanagan and checked out the garden yesterday, I discovered this. I suspect that bunny I showed you in my shorts and in the intruder in the garden video, I think might be the culprit. There's no witnesses. Who knows who did this, but somebody did it. I don't think birds would do this. So a lot of my bulbs were ripped up. A lot of them were just unearthed. So I actually transplanted some of the unearthed bulbs from this bed over into this bed. And I don't know how they'll do because some of them were getting close to flowering, but fingers crossed that they still give me flowers. And I can see the culprit was back since last night because the ones I just planted are now uprooted again. Some of them. So this is a pretty persistent culprit. I do wonder if a rabbit would be so persistent, or could it be the neighborhood birds? Would birds tear up bulbs like that? Let me know in the comments. My first thought is the bunny. But if it was the bunny, why did it leave so much debris? Why wouldn't it eat all the greens? So many questions and no answers. So these flower beds here, I am going to be planting, oh, not my borage, that's going somewhere else. I'm going to be planting the catgrass and, more importantly, the catnip. I have 2 packages of each and they are going to go here and over here. And a little bit over here. I'm going to show you these beds. They have changed since you last seen them. This was one of my projects a few weeks ago before I left for a little adventure. This is a flower bed and you can see the rocks are now here. This is only just the beginning. I mean, this is going to be a rock garden and there will be a lot more rocks here and different varieties of rock, but this is the beginning of it. These little cute flowers blooming in the middle, this is rock cress. I got all of these cute little rock cress plants. There's so many of them here for free on Facebook Marketplace in the middle of winter when I was making this setup here, and they're the cutest. They should spread out and just cover this whole bed in cute little white flowers, and I cannot wait to see that. Over here, this area has changed too. This was one of my projects a couple of weeks ago. I decided to repurpose my pea gravel that didn't have a purpose and put some of my rocks around it to give these little yucca plants a little bit more definition in the landscape. So all of this grass here, this is all going to be a different variety of gravel. I'm not sure on the color yet, but time will tell. I'm not quite ready to start gravelizing this whole thing, but pretty soon. The clock is ticking. The clock is ticking quite literally because I do not want to mow this grass, hopefully at all, but I might have to do it once. The goal is to get it all gravelized before the grass really starts to grow. That could be within a month. I don't know. It might be 2 months. The sooner the better because I do not like cutting the grass. Coming this way, you see there's a second bed here that was there before, but it looked quite different. The construction of it started quite a while ago. We have a windmill palm in there. Lots of hens and chicks, and red hot pokers are the focus in this little flower bed, and 1 New Zealand flax in the corner here. Coming this way, there is a whole plot of these. This is a mixture of New Zealand flax and another plant called cordyline. So it kind of is a bit of a border all along this section of the rock garden. And what's surrounding it is all going to be rock. This grass is going to be gone. Coming in the middle, that is where most of the, as I said before, most of these seeds, once they're plants, are going to go into this border. I'm thinking most likely I'm going to start the catnip and the cat grass in my milk jugs. I still have some milk jugs. I just want the highest success for them, and I do find usually milk jug planting is pretty successful. So probably going to start them in the milk jugs. I might just sprinkle a few seeds into the border just to see what happens, but most will go in the milk jugs. My apple tree has what looks like buds on it. They almost look like flower buds already. It's possible these are the leaf buds, but very early if it was flower buds. It might leaf out pretty soon. This is a multi-variety apple tree, and no, I didn't plant it. It came with this property. It is red Macintosh and Breeburn apple. Don't know how to say that, but kind of interesting. Looking forward to trying those. A few more little flowers blooming here. These were random bulbs and pansies I found mostly in the vegetable garden. The bulbs were outside the fence and I just transplanted them into this little planter. Back inside the backyard, we're gonna check out the purist bush. It has flowers and they are open. These are the most beautiful white flowers and they are quite fragrant. They're supposed to be fragrant, but I actually don't smell them right now. I have a feeling it's the time of day. Sometimes flowers are more or less fragrant at certain times of the day. Coming this way, we're going to check out my candy tuft ground cover, just starting to bloom. This was original to the property. I did not bring this with me from my last house property. And they get the most beautiful little white flowers. So lovely. I cannot wait to see this whole bush bloom. My seeds just went flying. Last but not least, I have to show you the most adorable flowers I have ever seen. Sneak peek. I have some very cozy patio furniture. And check it out! These are the most dainty little daffodils I've seen in my life. They came with this planter on the property. They would be perfect for a fairy garden. There's some here and another little cluster here. And yes, I need to clean up this geranium. Before we had the snowfall, it looked like it was going to survive, but clearly it is dead. Need to take that out and put in something beautiful for the summertime. Thank you so much for joining me on Garden Tour Saturday. If you are curious if my garden experiment is going to work, my goal is to attract the neighborhood cats because I'm not ready for a pet, but I really did enjoy having kitties stay with me. So I had this idea, if I attracted the cats to my own garden on the outside of the fence, they're not going to poop in my vegetables. And I can enjoy them from outside the fence. So I was planning to put a whole pile of these cat attracting plants into those beds. And my hope would be multiple cats would show up at the same time. And it would kind of create the ambience of, if you've ever been to a cat cafe, that's what I'm going for, but a cat garden without owning the cats, even better. If you want to see if it works, stay tuned, subscribe. I hope you're having a lovely start to spring and we will see you soon in another video. Bye-bye.